Hello again. Another video in the series looking at modes. Now we've done quite a bit of theory so far in this little series. Now we've looked at what modes are. So we said that they're an inversion of a scale, taking the notes of a scale and rearranging them from a different scale or degree. So in argument's sake, in the key of C major, we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B and C. But if we take those notes and we rearrange them from a different degree, so start on the second degree, D, get D, E, F, G, A, B, C and D, and that's called the Dorian mode. It's the notes of C major but rearranged on the second degree, D. So the second mode of the major scale is Dorian, and we can do that on any degree. So we'll get the third, if you start with those notes on the third degree, get the Phrygian mode. Fourth degree, we'll get the Lydian. Fifth degree, the Mixolydian. Sixth degree, Aeolian. Seventh degree, Locrian. So those are the 7 modes of the major scale. And we've looked at how the sound, we've said that each mode has its own distinctive sound because of the intervals between the notes. And we've said that some of them kind of characterised as being major modes because they have a major third in them, or them classed as a minor mode because they have a minor third in them, flat third. And we've also looked at using PhatPhish to find some finger and some movable scale boxes on the neck. What we haven't talked a whole lot about is how we can actually use the modes in playing. So what I want to do in this video is do something a bit more about the practical side of things, about how we can employ the modes. Now the first way you could think of employing the modes is just using the mode that corresponds to the chord that you're playing. So in the key of C major, let's say we had a chord sequence that went from A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7. What we've got there is a 6 chord, a 2 chord, a 5 chord and a 1 chord. Now what we could do is use the mode that corresponds to each chord. So over the top of the 6th chord we could use the 6th mode, Aeolian mode, in this case A, so A Aeolian. Then over the top of the D minor 7 chord we'll play that's a 2 chord, so we'll use the Dorian mode, D Dorian. The next chord's a 5 chord, so we'll use the 5th mode, we would use the G Mixolydian. And then over the 1 chord we could use the Ionian mode, so we use C major, C Ionian mode. And basically what you're doing there is you're just using the notes, the mode that chord is derived from. But that doesn't give you a modal sound so much because you're changing on each chord. Where you really start to get the modal sound is where you use the same mode over a number of bars, over a number of different chords or whatever, to draw out the sound. That would give you much more modal sound. And one thing you can do is listen to what the bass note's doing. So one of the earlier videos we talked about being able to hear the modal sound by playing the notes of the major scale over a given bass. So if we take the notes of C major and we play them over an E bass note, that's starting to give us the Phrygian sound because your ear is drawn to that 3rd note of the scale being played over the major scale, so you hear the 3rd mode, you hear the Phrygian mode. So if you get a sequence of chords with the same note in the bass, or a particularly strong note in the bass, that can kind of imply a particular modal tonality. So let's look at a couple of chords. Say in the key of C major we've got an F major on the 4th degree and a G major on the 5th degree. So if we play those chords, it gives us a very C major sound because we've got 2 major chords a whole tone apart. Those are always distinctive as the 4 and 5 chords of a major key. If we play those over an E bass note, it'll start to give us a much more Phrygian sound. You hear that? So what we've got there is a chord progression but with a particularly strong bass note carrying through, so that gives us the Phrygian sound all the way through. So let's try something, just a simple little backing track with basically an F and a G chord progression over an E bass note which pulls out the Phrygian sound. and I'll show you how we can use the Phrygian mode over the top of that. To keep things simple, I'm going to kind of constrain myself to one of those scale boxes that we looked at in the earlier video, so hopefully you should be able to keep track of what my fingers are doing and see the Phrygian mode shape that I'm playing. So let's try that now. Hear there the Phrygian mode sound. I might be thinking, what's so special about playing that shape rather than just say playing the notes of C major? Well, the difference is it's about the notes that you kind of concentrate on. If you're playing in the E Phrygian mode as we were there, you'll tend to concentrate on the E, you know, that or the B, which is the 5th degree of the Phrygian, or the G, which is the flat 3rd degree of the Phrygian. It gives you a very E type of sound to the piece, because you're concentrating on strong arpeggio tones, if you like, from that mode. And also remember, when we looked at the modes, we said that each mode, whether it's a major mode or a minor mode, you can kind of see it as being built around a pentatonic. So what I can do when the key of, say, C major, where I'm playing in E Phrygian mode, is play an E minor pentatonic, or even in an E minor blues scale, because it's an E type of scale, and you will be kind of be pulled into that, and you'll be hearing the Phrygian sound. Let's do something similar, same chord progression this time, but I'm going to play it over a D bass note, which gives us much more of a Dorian tonality. Again, I'm going to stick to a D Dorian mode shape that corresponds to what we looked at in the last video, very basic shape. And again, listen to the sound. You should be able to hear the Dorian tonality as opposed to the Phrygian tonality that we heard in the previous example. More Dorian sound there because of the 2nd degree of the major scale in the bass rather than the 3rd degree of the major scale in the bass that we had in the first example. So that's one way that we can use modes, using a mode that corresponds to the bass note. The other thing we can do is, if we just look at a sequence of chords, if we look at what are the strong chords, which chords crop up a lot, or that we start and we finish on in a progression, and they might lead us towards a particular mode. So in the key of C major, I could have a progression that starts on G. I've got a C major 7 in there, and I've got a D, but I go back to a G and finish. Okay, those are all diatonic to the key of C major, but I'm starting on a G and I'm finishing on a G. I'm using a D minor, and D is the 5th degree of the G scale, so that's a strong arpeggio tone. That's suggesting we could use the G Mixolydian mode over the top of that. I'll show you again. Simple scale box, so you can hopefully follow what my fingers are doing. There's a few examples of the way that we can use modes. Either using the mode that corresponds directly to a chord that you're playing, using the mode that corresponds to the underlying bass note of a progression, or using the mode that corresponds to a particularly strong chord within a chord progression. Now, as I said at the start of the video, there's loads of different ways that you can apply modes. These are just some basic examples to get you started, but hopefully there's plenty there for you to start thinking about and applying those, being able to use modes in your own playing and in your own improvisations, and getting your ear used to the way that those modes sound and the way that you can use them to enhance a piece, and as a way to get something to practice with, to get your fingers around the shapes of the modes and those scale boxes. There's loads more about modes and the way you can use them, more than cover just in a little video like these ones that I put on YouTube. Like I say, something to get you started. Hopefully you find that useful. Keep practicing, and see you in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.